to our play shop. And I'm glad to see you all here on a cold early morning. So my name's Eileen Riesel. I'm Associate Director of PK-12 here at the Ames Center, and welcome if this is your first time. We're a nonprofit and we work in like STEAM education with different partnerships. And so just a little background. Our values are these values, and you can read more about those online at our website, amescenter.org. But we're really good. I'm really going to try to exemplify these, especially human-centeredness and collaboration. The ideas that will come out through this workshop about pictures and the visual ways that artists and illustrators use that to convey a story. So my background is actually in mathematics, and I was a math teacher for 13 years, and one of my students here that when I taught here at in the master's STEM program. But so this is a little different for me, taking me out of my comfort zone a little bit into the art world. But I had the privilege of working with the art teacher at Sunnyside High School, and I learned so much from her, and I still learn a lot from her, and just the way that art is just interconnected in so much of what we do. And when I was a middle school teacher, I used art a little bit to just engage students, because math has that kind of negative narrative for a lot of kids and that heaviness. And so I would try to bring them in with doing some origami and teaching some geometry with that, and just using a little bit more art to engage them. But what I had the privilege to do, and which was so different, is I got to teach math in an art class, and I had never done that before. And so she invited me into her class, and we did origami in there as they learned 3D design and applied 3D design and actual 3D design. And I just saw so much overlap, and I saw so much creativity in that room, and just the expectation of creativity in an art classroom. And I was kind of just in awe of the ways that in a math classroom, we don't have that same expectation sometimes, but kids really need to be creative problem solvers. Like, we want that. So how do I kind of bring that into my math class, but then at the same time, how can I empower an art teacher that a lot of what they do has mathematics in it? And I remember toward the end of that lesson, the teacher said, you guys were doing math today. And they were like, don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. Don't tell us that. But it was just so funny, because they were just making cubes and octahedron and all of these things. And we're talking about the faces and the edges and the proportions there. So it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited about this. And taking me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I do see some of the math that's in this, but also the just human-centeredness that's in that, because that's how we communicate with each other a lot, through pictures and visuals. So we'll go ahead and get started with this question. The question is, how does the structure of a picture or any visual art form affect our emotional response? So thinking about the ways that just the picture is formed, and how meaningful that those shapes or positions are used, even colors, are used to convey a message that the illustrator wants to convey. And there are principles, and I've used this book to help me learn a lot about the principles that are used. So it's called Picture This, and it's by Molly Bang, and she is an illustrator and author of children's books. And Leslie, my friend who was talking about, she's the one that introduced me to this book, and it was just so eye-opening. And one of the things that we do here at Ames is that we do making and tinkering sessions together as a work environment. And so I get to kind of practice with my colleagues in presentations like this, so I can, gauge my presentation skills, my facilitation, the time it takes. But it was interesting that after we did this session together, just the different lens that we were looking at the picture books, because now we knew some of those principles. So there's a lot more principles than we're going to go over today. We'll go over 9 of them that I selected, but this is the book that she wrote to kind of to kind of summarize those principles. And I think that's used in a lot of art classes, like two-dimensional art classes. So we'll go to the slide where it has just a little triangle, a little person here. And we give a little background to this. So we just have one little red triangle on a white page, right? So if this became an illustration, let's say this was the ocean and the page was blue. And the little red triangle was, say, a sailboat, okay? If it were blue, it might, if we change the color of the little red triangle, if we change it to blue, then we might see like a shark fin on the ocean, right? So it would feel very different, maybe to us, if we had a sailboat on the ocean, and then, or if we had a shark fin on the ocean, right? So just the colors and the shapes there and what they might communicate to us can be conveyed in really simple forms. So if you just look at the figure itself and ask yourself, well, how do I feel about this figure? I mean, it has points and it's flat and wide at the bottom. It has a horizontal base, has 3 sides. They look equal. Does it feel huggable? What about the color? What does the color make you feel? Is it warm? Is it flashy? Does it evoke danger because it's red? What else do we associate with the color red when we see it? So let's say for our example today, we're going to say that this triangle represents the Little Red Riding Hood. Let's say this is Little Red Riding Hood. So how might we show her mother if we were going to illustrate her mother? So on the next slide, we have an example of what her mother would be, right? So we might think, well, the mom would be bigger than her, right? But the mom here might be bigger, but does she feel warm? Does she feel maybe overbearing because she's bigger and she's red? And the illustrator or artist here might think about, well, who's the focus of my story? Does the mom take away the focus because she's the bigger triangle and red? So she might be overbearing if Red Riding Hood is my main character, right? So on the next slide, we change the shape of the mom. What if we rounded her corners? Does she seem softer now because her points aren't so sharp? She might be, but her size and her colors, that still might take over. That's a lot of red on that page, and it draws you to where more of the red is. So on the next slide, we have her in a different color. So if the mom is a little more pale of a color, she might give a little bit more quality to Red Riding Hood, because red kind of is that color that draws us in a little bit more, that's a little strong. So maybe she's a little more huggable, a little more stable. And now the emphasis of our eyes maybe goes to the Little Red Riding Hood triangle, right? Our main character of that story. So we're gonna go through three principles on our first 3 sets, our first 3 that we're gonna go through. And this has to do with the shape of things that are on the page. So the next slide will show the 3 principles, and I'll bring it back up when we go to our questions. But so horizontal. So when things are smooth and flat, it gives us a sense of stability and calmness, right? So if the ocean is very smooth, we know there's not a storm there. If the footing is smooth, if the character, for example, it was shapes this time, if the bottom piece where they're sitting on the floor, if that's nice and flat, it gives us that sense of, okay, there's stability, there's calmness here, there's not a lot of tension. When vertical shapes are used, they're rebelling against gravity, right? They're implying that there's energy there, for example, a superhero, or they're reaching towards the heavens, they're doing something that's kind of maybe challenging, but they're kind of overcoming it. They're in it for the challenge or the journey that they're going to be on. When diagonal shapes happen, they're dynamic because they imply like a sense of motion or tension, right? So maybe it's going to point towards something, or the character's facing like a new horizon or a new choice that they're making, right? So these three are just our first, that kind of gives us that overview of, okay, what am I looking at in the way that the page is formed and the shape. So horizontal, is it vertical, or does it have diagonal lines? So I have an example using our little character, our little Red Riding Hood character. So on the next page, we have her in this setting. Now we're still using really simple shapes, and Molly Bang uses these really simple shapes because she just wants the principle to be illustrated and that there can be a lot conveyed even though simple shapes are used. So what do you see here? What would you imagine that's happening on this page?
Forest.
A forest, right? So we have some shapes there, very simple rectangles that could be our woods, like she's in the woods, right? And she's there. And looks like she's walking through the woods. And we ask ourselves, okay, so when she's walking through the woods, that's when she meets, the wolf, right? And so how can we make this scarier? So let's look at our next page. All right, so one way we can make it scarier is make her a little smaller. I noticed that the vertical lines that we had on the woods are not just vertical, they have some slant to it, right? So it's not so easy to go through. And then we see the shape, it's still simple, but we see this shape that's different from the rectangles that were going straight up. And it kind of gives us this thing like, oh, what is that? That's not a tree, it's something else, right? We don't have a lot of detail, but it's kind of getting a little scarier. So how could we make it more scarier? Add a little more detail to that mysterious shape. Using the red still. Red Riding Hood was red, that was our character, that's part of her name. But if we see the other part of that red that's used for the big bad wolf, we can see that, oh yeah, that red in that part of the page kind of makes us feel, oh, that's a little bit scary. That brings it out a little bit. All right, so in this play shop, it's not just me talking, even though I've talked a little bit longer than I normally do. We're gonna give you a chance to explore, okay? So you have some paper and you can choose a white or black background, right? And you can think of a story that you know, your favorite story. You can get some inspiration from the picture books. You can make up your own scene for something. But I want to give you some time. You're gonna just use this colored paper that you have to cut out some shapes. If your character is a square or a circle, that's up to you. If you actually want to put more detail in your character, that's fine. But we want to make a page that illustrates one or more of these principles for you to convey a message of what your page is trying to say, the story is trying to say. And in your boxes here in the center, we have your glue sticks, your scissors in here, tape, color tape. There's markers underneath, all right? So I'm gonna give everyone some time to just explore. And then we're just gonna share out what we made and what the story is. And I won't force you to share out, but we'll have some people maybe share out a little bit.
Is it one scene you want or?
Yeah,
multiple
like
scene?
one scene, one page of your so-called book story, right? And if anyone has questions, that's joining us online, feel free to put that in the chat.
Do we work at a team or do our by ourselves?
It's up to you, if you want to work together, you and your wife together.
Okay.
Welcome. Hi.
Thanks.
We should have another break. You want white or black? White. White. Yeah.
Here, there's smaller ones and then there's large core paper.
This darker one or this lighter one?
Oh, I'll take this. No, mine's spelling, mine is, oh, yeah, so you create this.
Think about these principles. When we use horizontal, like the ground is horizontal. Vertical shapes, trees or buildings that are used, and diagonal shapes. Are used. If you need a color that you're looking for, what do you do?
Oh. I gotta think of shapes and some shapes. Our shape collage for that one. Yeah. The way you can make a little bit. You want other people to do on your story? Are you gonna turn to these for a book? See, I'm gonna take. See what she's like to do. With you, if that's so funny. She's got a bias to the, it's not. $16. $16. I looked at that when you told me that I could. Probably, yeah, need one more for myself. Right? Then, you know, Old story or not is. My daughter has come with the little one. Probably better drop them off with her. Do my groceries. Mom and dad. If nobody uses it, and she's able to get. This one is. I just need to. Is it supposed to be just one? It's just shape. Shape. Oh, okay, so it could be all shapes, yeah, all shape.
Like, for example, this person made this scene of someone singing on stage,
Oh,
and the lights are diagonals,
oh, okay.
showing that the light is moving towards that person.
Oh, that's just. No, she's too full for this stuff. They too late. Too full for this stuff.
Did she do the stem? Yeah. Carl. Oh, Carl. Yeah. He did his. No.
We want to stick to the way that we go.
Oh, yeah. Copies from there.
I want to cast my brother. You ain't go chair. Oh, the coconut tree. Is that what it's called?
I think you're a little.
Chico. Oh, yeah, there was that. I don't think that, oh. So what's gonna be your hair? Do you need this color? What color is
Before you go there.
This one.
Oh, that was nice.
That one's fast. It's just so. Yeah, hey. I don't know. Maybe not that. Then I tell them what to have to do, and he's done this. So think about it, like. At this point, when they're here, okay? Yeah. I'm here. I try. Yeah. Just so I'm carrying you guys out till June, I'm carrying you guys. Maybe, I'm thinking that I told Jazzy yesterday. How come she don't let us try to show her how to conduct our exams instead of just switching it up like it's unorganized? But it's not even supposed to be gone. I'm like, I don't even know if I ever want to have my sons get because she wants everybody to work on DRTPs. Well, not everybody knows every child, and you're not behind. Or not, I mean, the skills. Well, she wants all the conferences stuff too, basically. Yeah. And she wants to have like a conference. Like twice a year. I mean. But they're gonna be group conferences, not individual conferences. Yeah, so like, he wants to block off the last 2 weeks of March. And that's where we're gonna do our conferences. That's under the That doesn't, oh, a bird or a big
I
bed?
don't know.
And he just needs his ears right now. He looks like a bird shapes. Well, anybody who blows out their lips has, that's why they call those women ducks in the pictures. Selfies.
Okay, so that shapes.
Oh, really nice tree.
Cars. I need some cards. The little index cards. I don't know how well you put out letters. I'm gonna do all basic letters too. Of the shade. T, U, and B. T, U. You're creative. What you doing?
That's not the one I'm doing.
It's your stone.
White?
I'm just amazed at how it's wrong. See those colors.
For me. Well. I think it's a good thing. Yes. You said. Stop it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The cutlery. People is. Also, I'm trying, I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I got it. Oh, you recognized it. Have you seen all two of the first two? Yes.
Last year, we finished wonders early.
Yeah.
I almost forgot how to get it.
Charlotte's well.
Yeah, I guess it's not just standing here and watching them crazy. It's like-
Yes.
Watching a movie, so you.
I came through the.
Yes.
Going on. But it opened.
And I mean, you get a lot of time books way better than.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this story.
Oh, yeah. We were. Yeah.
Are those your pictures? White final. Are those your pictures?
Oh, we have to have a story.
Well, just explain what you mean.
It's 3 hours.
All right, all done. We're hanging this on your wall.
Oh, yeah.
Safely just taking their arm.
Oh.
Are you doing patterns? Those are trees, right?
That's good.
Yeah, understand.
All right, we'll just take a few more minutes and then we'll open it up for sharing.
Since I needed this against, but I don't know yesterday. I was whatever.
And second here. Oh, Stephen, I read them, and I saw the movie, it was different than the ending.
It's just. His brain's like.
It's good, and it was different, but they got a sensationalized when they say sensational. But the way he wrote, I like it, he did that. The words, that if you see a picture, you know what we're doing now.
Even the television part on Willy Wonka, when Mike TV shrinks. Yeah. That reminds me of that scene right there. I want one of those microwaves.
Right.
So what is your story? You're not gonna tell me? Okay.
People say you got it. Right, or see.
Now, available news. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Share your story.
All right, so while people finish up their last pieces to their page, I just wanted to share some examples that my colleagues did when we did the session together. So this is a scene, and I know what the scenes are because we shared them out. So this is a scene where a person is singing on stage. And so they were using diagonals to show the movement of the light, the spotlight to the person on the stage. So one way that diagonals can be used for like movement. This is another example of diagonals being used as movement, more representational, so very simplistic. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland falling through the hole. So they used really simple shape to show falling. The table, you remember this falling? And the table, and then just here, just diagonal, diagonal lines used, the little doors at the bottom. She's gonna end up falling.
I was almost thinking that Alice was following the rabbit.
Oh, okay. I don't remember her saying that. Maybe that was a white rabbit. Yeah, so just some examples because some of us used really simplistic shapes, some of us got more detailed, right? So, and that's okay, because we're gonna be able to tell a little bit of our story and see the story behind it. So anybody want to be first to share a picture and tell us what principle they used and what story they were, or what their scene is? Doesn't have to be even to a story. Right here, okay, we have right here.
So for mine, I used one of my favorite books from when I was in elementary school, which was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So on the bottom, the brown rectangle represents the chocolate bar. The 4 white squares represent the 4 that didn't get chosen. And then the golden triangle that represents Charlie. The white stick figure that represents Charlie at the beginning building Willy Wonka with the toothpaste parts that his dad gives him. And then this brown represents the actual chocolate factory, Wonka's chocolate factory. And then the infamous golden ticket.
Nice, thank you for sharing. You have a lot of story on one page. Anyone else?
I'll share mine. It's pretty easy, just, I didn't know about the line showing the movements, but I hope you guys can see the movement. Yeah, the coconut tree, the chicka chicka boom boom.
Oh.
Chicken. I don't know, I was trying to just do diagonal lines. The shapes that I chose. I
Yeah,
was trying
the
to-
leaves coming out from that
Yeah.
centerpiece. Very nice. It's very good. Okay, over here.
So ours is just a representation of a stormy night, very rough ocean. Didn't quite know how to depict the moon. We thought,
That looks great.
we didn't want to use the round, but, a tiny boat off on the side, kind of the placement helps to depict the scale of the ocean,
Mhm.
how big it is and how rough the seas are.
And all those vertical and
Ours is
tangled
the-
lines.
Is the, yeah, the
Waves.
waves, the real rough colors. I have something similar, but we're at totally different tables, so I had no idea what.
Wow.
Like minds, think of.
Oh, yeah.
It's.
Oh.
It is.
See what you're doing. Mine is the waves still, but I wanted to convey the message, it's at night, but this sailboat has gone through the storm because the waves are going that way and I'm like showing the horizontal, yeah, and calm and peaceful, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I'll go ahead and share mine.
Okay, yes,
So I
someone.
did the story of the three billy goats graph. To kind of show the horizontal movement from going the rocky side of the hill across the bridge to the grassy side, but then the troll is underneath it.
Nice, yes, I see that. Okay, great.
It's a king that wanted to be, he was super excited to be a king. He wanted to save the pollution, but people hated him. They're telling like their voices telling like, leave the town, we hate you and stuff.
Wow.
So are those things in the corner like people's voices?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow, so you showed the movement of sound with the vertical.
That's good.
That's great. That's really good. Sure. Anyone else want to share? I will not force you, but if you want to share. All right, we're gonna move on to our set 2 principles. I'm gonna briefly explain them. And then we'll do a little bit of a different activity to exemplify them. So what happens is that as we become illustrators, just a few minutes ago, we use these principles without knowing that they were principles. So as we go through this, you're gonna look back at your scene you just made and say, hey, that's what I did when I put that there. Because this is about placement. So when we use the upper half of a picture, it's a place of freedom, happiness, and power. So that tree going up and the space being used at the top for the leaves, that's what is kind of conveying there. When you use the lower bottom of the picture, it usually feels more threatened, heavier, sadder. It could be grounded, something that's more grounded or constrained, right? And then the center is used a lot by illustrators. When they put something in the center, they want it to be the focus point. They want to give that attention to the center. And things might be happening around it, but when it's used at the center, it really gives that idea of attention, and it's a point of the greatest attraction that they want to convey. And if you look at your pictures, you might have done that. You might have placed things at the top to show like this is a place of freedom, the sky kind of, or the lower, or right at the center. So what we want to do is I want to first give you an opportunity to share your illustration. So if you want to take a picture with your cell phone, we did put a Padlet there so that you could share some of that. We don't have to do that now, but we can. But what we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead and grab a picture book or a couple picture books. And I want you to look for these principles in a picture book, okay? So there's a bunch of picture books on the tables. And see if you can find one of these principles on a page. And if you're online, you can do the same. Grab a picture book that you might have. And see if you can find a principle where they use the top, the bottom, or the center of the page to illustrate or to communicate something that's happening in the story.
Well, you choose your own book?
Choose your own book. You can find something. If you don't find something you like, then there's other books at other tables. Couple books up here. And then we'll do some share out, like what did you find in these books? Okay. Yeah, it's not the top, but that's not the main part of the story. Yeah, so when it's the main part of the story, what's. Something's right. Okay, that's really good on the pen. That's your old right. So pick
Any page, choose your page, choose a page you like. That shows this one.
So this one is a whole scene.
That's all. The book shows.
This is center and center.
Yeah, these girls are serious.
We'll put this in, okay, because they want you to pay attention to in here. So they wanted you to pay attention to this page and then this page. And nothing else is happening there. Just this one.
Yeah. So straight through the door and then make a right.
Okay.
Did you sign it? Oh, the hell sign it.
I haven't.
I'm gonna see, right there, the offering certificates after.
Okay.
I put something there so you can. Scan, well, yeah, then let's register on email to come in person.
Yeah. So we're waiting for those who took a little break. If you want to take a picture of your illustration, you can scan this on your phone to go to the Padlet and put the picture. You don't have to like sign in or anything, just post the picture, just to share our illustrations with each other. Scissors.
No, I think that's too bad, because that was do this for storytelling. no?
Have you ever pictures and emotions now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then that story.
Did you find a picture? No, in the book? I saw you looking at one. That was her.
Which picture, you're supposed to hold the pictures.
Yeah. I saw you looking at one. You look at shadow.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think that's kind of neat to see. There's a pen, writing, interesting.
I don't want to share. I don't want to share the page.
And I know this is relatively, you know.
Documents?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of.
Sure you. But his feelings are all over the place, like his block.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of.
I didn't know.
There's a lot of things.
So picture, so this is the one with the. Went to school.
Aren't you?
Now this getting sure. I need.
Well, you know. Oh,
Seriously? Serious?
More snow.
Not that my mom was. Had a choice.
All right, so let's go around if you want to share. If you want to share what's happening in the page that you found. I'll just share this just as an example. So this is a book called Wolf in the Snow. And the illustrator used both of those pages for the center. So the center happening with this little character carrying a little baby pup wolf. And then our other center, as our eyes move to here, we're also drawn to the center. Because Mama's looking for her baby, right? So even though these two pages kind of go together, the illustrator is bringing our eyes to that point and this point in the story of what's happening. And this is one of those books that there's very little, no words. We're just kind of going completely from the illustrations to kind of convey the story to us of what's happening. Right? Does anyone want to go next? What did you guys find? Yeah, okay. What page did you pick?
This one.
This one? Let's see. Can you turn it around? So we can see it. Oh, what's happening in that part of the story? His blocks fell, so it's right, it's happening right in the middle. Is he happy? Oh, he's mad. Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. How can you tell he's mad in the picture?
Because I can see it.
You can see it? Is it in, where do you see it in? Point to where you see it, how he's mad. His face? Yeah, his face is showing that he's mad. Nice.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, it's a very good picture.
I have one too.
Okay.
So this one zeroed in on the center
Mm-hmm,
where the fly is, and it's showing the movement of a chew.
mm-hmm.
And on the sides, they're kind of bigger so you can see it. And like the tape is stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then all of them, they have the expectation and they're also in the center, so we know something's gonna happen. And if you're reading preview, I don't even know what the story's about, but
Mhm.
I already know what's gonna happen just by their faces and the fly sneezing or
Sneezing.
chew.
Yeah.
So, and most likely these towers are getting ready to fall.
Yeah, and it really conveys like that center, because the illustrator kind of puts stuff around and that's darker and like the white space that's used inside. Yeah, definitely.
It's a neat perspective.
Anyone else? Any examples of top or, okay, yes.
I also have no idea what's going on in this story, but I just kind of picked this page because I think by putting the central triangle in here, you can tell, even though there are similar shapes throughout the page, you can tell that this is the main character based on the position as well as color and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I have one that I found interesting, because we were talking about elderly just a little while ago, but it has, just the lines, like it has the vertical, but then they have lots of horizontal. But what I really liked was that it has the grandmother kind of like showing her granddaughter the horizontal board together. And that in turn that she's, learning something from grandmother.
Yeah.
Just with the shapes.
Here, okay.
I like this.
Oh, that's a nice picture.
This is, the story premises about a child with his grandmother, taking a journey through the city and how he's asking a lot of questions and things like that. But there's this one point where he starts to actually really feel kind of immersed in the sunset, some birds that are flying outside the bus. There were some insects that he was noticing. So there was this kind of, then he starts to feel more at peace and less stressed about traveling on the bus and all these things.
Yeah, and that's all happening at the top of that page, right?
Right.
Flight, the sun, and even his arms diagonally going upward. I see that sense of like release and freedom and peace. Yeah, I love that page. That's a beautiful page. Anyone else? Sure,
I found this
okay.
use of placement pretty interesting. So the story kind of talks about this little girl making a clay sentimental piece, and then it breaks. And so you see the different fragments placed all over the page, but then you see like the big piece with her teardrop on it to kind of show the sadness that, as it says, each piece reflects the sadness she feels because it's broken.
Yeah, and in that page, like the center is used for the tear, but then even the bottom piece is used, kind of like everything's falling. It's kind of like sad. Oh, wow, that's a good one.
So I chose this one. This is called, I believe it's On's Anger. It's about a little boy who lives with grandpa and it's time to eat dinner, but he's building something and that's more important. So grandpa wants him to stop building so that he can come eat dinner. So at the top, it shows his hand trying to put the last block before dinner. And I at first thought that these orange lines were like part of the wallpaper in the background, but I was thinking maybe it was like the steam from whatever grandpa's cooking. Kind of tempt him to maybe want to
Come back.
come eat dinner, because whatever grandpa's cooking's gotta be good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. Okay, let's see. So these are the principles that we just went over. And I wanted to show some illustrations from our author of the book, Picture This. This is the story, and you know, I remember seeing this on Reading Rainbow. I don't know if anyone else saw that, but the story of the girl who gets the paintbrush that turns everything to life. I don't know if you remember that story, but here we see the character. She's really small. She's kind of towards the center, but she's a little off, and you can't tell exactly from this page, but her shirt is colored red. We have a whole black and white. We have that red color used again, which seems to be thematic, like seeing that color red. But also we see just the height of those mountains behind her. So even though you don't see exact vertical lines, you see that vertical motion up behind her. And like you see also that city in front of her and how it's kind of grounded. And in this story, it's about the people that she lived were very poor. So when she starts painting things, she's helping the poor in their poverty, like whether that's like painting food or painting tools they need or painting livestock. That's kind of the story behind that. So just an example of using that as an illustrator. Another story from Molly Bang, The Paper Crane. And so this is really a story about family and the restaurant that they have. So we see here that use of center, right in the center. And then even in the picture, we have even more centralized is the home or the restaurant. And then even more centralized is the two people that are in the story. So it's kind of like that centerpiece is kind of drawing us in to that point of the story. And yeah, and it looks like a photograph that's in the photo album too. So the illustrator's using all of these different techniques to kind of illustrate family and how that's kind of the central piece of this whole story. This is from the book that's up here, What to Do with the Chance. So it reminds me of the page that was shared just now with the little boy and the birds and the insects flying. So here, Chance is illustrated as like a golden origami butterfly that's flying, and the boy is trying to catch his chance. But we see that motion of just from one end to the other end, how he's in the bottom corner. So it's kind of grounding him, but the chance is going off into the sky. So it's showing us like that use of using the upper piece of that page. And so I think that that's a great way to kind of illustrate sometimes more representational things like an idea or a problem. In this case, a chance, right? A chance isn't something we could see and hold, but here the illustrator is using different ways to kind of convey that message. All right, so that's what we did. We looked at those, and we're gonna go to our last set of principles. And we've used some of these already. So the backgrounds can be white or light, and they feel safer to us when instead darker backgrounds are used. Sharpness, so if there's sharpness in the picture, we could be looking at pointed shapes. We could feel more secure and comforted when things are more rounded. The size of something, so we saw that with the Little Red Riding Hood, like if she's smaller, it conveys an overwhelming feeling of what they're going against or what the challenge is in the story. But then if they're larger, maybe that's at the end of the story where they've overcome something at the end. So I also got some illustrations from the storybooks that we have here. So the story here, yes, is the little boy and he's going with his grandma. He's not happy at first because he doesn't have a car like everyone else. And so he has to use the bus, and his grandmother is trying to convince him like, you know, this is great, like using the bus is a great idea. So we have this vertical motion too with the street that's happening. And we have this centralized picture of the bus he's going to be on. But we also have his size, like his size compared to what he's about to experience. His attitude and mood feels like it's expressed through the storminess of that day, so we see the rain coming down. And I think it's also interesting that we see a dragon on the bus, right? And so, what might be scary to him, what might be, something that feels uncomfortable to him is kind of conveyed in that message of him. And we do still have grandma there off to the side, but, she feels a little bit lost in the picture at this point. And later on, she becomes more centralized as she helps him through his emotions on the bus and what he experiences. So this is another story that was here about the little girl. It's kind of like the red hen who's baking the bread. So it's retold with the little girl who wants to make a fort, and she's made all the plans, and at this point in the story, she's trying to find someone who's gonna help her, right? So we have an interesting contrast here, because it's dark background. Kind of conveying that what's gonna happen here is she's not gonna find anyone who's interested in helping her. So she's going to her different friends and saying, you know, I have all my plans, who wants to help me gather supplies? And everybody's like, no way, I'm too busy. We also see their eyes closed, so they're not really seeing her. They're not paying attention to her. They're doing their own things. So a lot of things are happening in that page, but we see her like down at the corner, grounded again. And then we see though a lot of play happening. And even those chalk drawings, like showing that maybe some of that was her pre-work of her ideas. And you know, when kids are out there and they're playing, and then they're like, oh, let's do this, you know, and they have this new idea. So it could have been that that's what happened to the story. In the next picture was just shared, I saw a lot of that groundedness, but I also saw a lot of that multi-generational piece. So the background gets lighter, right? Because she finds people who are gonna help her, and they're her grandma and her mom. And so they help her get started with her project. And so it feels like even though she's still grounded, we see these vertical pieces going up that are defying gravity, right? So she's making the fort, and she's starting on her project and building the dream that she has. And this is the end of that story. And I felt it really using that kind of roundedness and the centerness, right? So everything's kind of round here because now the people who, well, they didn't want to help her, but now they're enjoying the fort with her. They're eating cookies, having milk. And it's still a sense of like community. Almost everything is round there. So we have the carpet round, we have their faces lying there around, the milk, the cookies, the plates, like all that roundedness is kind of used for that expression. So I'm gonna give you, oh wait, one more illustration. So here, I think this is one of the books that's on here. So this little pig here is talking about there's so much to learn. And so the idea of learning or knowledge is like this big piece, and he's kind of off in the bottom in the corner. So size is used here as well. But I do like the way that it's kind of showing a journey. So if you notice that it's kind of smaller on one side of the page and gets bigger. So that sense of motion, like I can still do this, there's a lot to learn, it looks really big. But he also has a stance that doesn't show he's like completely intimidated. It's kind of a stance, like a Superman stance or a superhero stance, like I can do this. I'm okay, I'm gonna start from the bottom corner, but I'm gonna work my way to learning more. So kind of a way that illustrators might use different ways to convey messages. All right, so I'm gonna invite you to use these. You can add to your story if you'd like to add something else, or make another page now that you've seen these 9 principles that you could use. Think about the background, the sharpness, the size. If you're gonna do a new page, think about how you might do something different. So if you did something scary, how would you make something that's light and happy? Or show the end of that story, like an outcome. If you didn't use sharp objects, maybe you'll use sharp ones this time, or more rounded shapes. Maybe even a rounded kind of picture. And then think about size, like what do you want to make larger? What do you want to make smaller? If you used that in your page before or didn't, think about how you might use it again. So if you like to work together with someone, you can, or you can do your own. We'll give a few more minutes to to try it, and then we'll kind of share out again, and then have a little bit of a closure. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll come around to help.
Somebody online was asking about the title of the book that you were just showing pictures from.
The dreamer.
The chance one? Or, oh, the tree?
The dreamer.
Oh, dream.
I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly which slide it was, but there was.
All right, I can
as far as
show the
the-
different ones. Let's see. I think the chalkboard one. The chalkboard one is from Dreamer. Dreamer.
I think.
Sun Na is the last name. It's this one right here.
I'm like, I don't know. You wanna make another?
What do you want to do? Want to make another view? Oh, yeah, I love it. You want to take a picture?
What story is she next?
Go ahead, you get scary.
I'm being lazy.
There.
I remember all of it. Nothing in the background but the beat. This kind of.
You need some more paper? Want to make more tracing? That's great. I mean, you can make up.
I'm gonna keep the same black. Good. Really? Is this one story about it?
You don't have to have the same as Illustrator, you can use different. You can get your own. Oh, wow, it's right there.
Thank you. You don't know yet? You can't know until I tell. You tell me what to do. Come on, it's a big info, just like. Certain college?
You want.
Because I have a lot of humor. Markers, can you make markers, please? Thank you, thank you. It's a thing.
This. Happy is the secret.
All right. Maybe I can use this. Maybe I have to face it. It's not like cutting. Don't even cut it there. I don't like cutting, I really don't. Got four papers in half and I get my tongue and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind drawing, I don't mind filling, I don't mind coloring. I just want to cut.
Yes.
Mhm. And because I'm being so lazy, I'm gonna try to fold this paper as many times as I can. And cut out just this one stuff. In hopes that it'll make at least 5. If I had a stapler. That's always been my strategy is I staple a stack of paper, cut out one, and then cut out a whole stack. Hey, give my cow back. See, that wasn't hard for you to figure out anything. Very simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple, simple.
Yeah.
I'll cut you one. Teacher Lily says she'll cut this because I love cutting some. Yellow. Oh, you got perfect circles inside. I hate cutting teacher Lily loves cutting. Or she just loves cutting circles.
Make some stars.
Hey,
Yeah.
what are you drawing on my paper? I'm not drawing on yours. Respect my space. It's my workspace. You got your own workspace. You're lucky I'm letting you invade.
There's
some.
still like that dark brown here.
I'm sorry.
Are you still using it?
Oh, how much do you need?
Just a little bit. not too
Yeah.
much.
Sixth grade, where did you go to school? What is the right up from the corner? Do you do a lot of art on your own? Like artwork? Do you do artwork at school or? Is that yours? This one. Oh. Goes to low. One goes to Baby Pal. I said this one. This child.
What grade are you in?
You're good at night. You're a genius. First grade. First grade. She was got their mom. Oh, yeah. Puffy flowers.
Happy.
What is it then?
Flower.
Oh, cloud flower. What is it? Cloud flower. Same thing, right? Same difference. Puffy cloud. I said, not puffy.
Ernest has some oranges for us.
Yes.
Oh, I don't wanna go home. Not till next week. You gonna go home? Next weekend, because what your sister had. Yeah, the fellowship. Same thing. We're gonna find those office. That's the goal. Apparently, we need to be in shape for Hawaii's.
Mr.
But this is a way to the vacation. Last time we did it. Work.
Is that when that?
Where did we have?
All the kids.
Stop. think you just keep accumulating. Or is there? I would ask because they're gonna do a meeting about PTO. So. Yeah, you need to give some of those. Even with the type of you took. But no, me and Sandra, she'll approve you for sure. It's Kendall, she don't. That's what. No, but I asked him. Oh, that Friday?
But I don't know if we're still gonna do that. One oh one. Much about it.
I had always. Third grade.
Well, my church is not so much 47, but one that was put in your email request.
That's from second to third, intermediate.
And they'll probably say that's if Kendall returns from her, because you're both closing teachers.
Yeah.
Right. Cause that's what they put in for her. But she decided not to. I just, she was on yeah, I was like, 3 to 12. I didn't even know about PTO. Was just piling for a while. So I get that. Yeah.
Grades that are,
Yeah.
I mean, they were. Speak to the kids.
Yeah.
But.
It's just, there's no staff. That's it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice from a.
Yes.
It's no effort.
That's why I have negative. Because I requested that whole stuff to the way before the piano. I don't have negative before. You're here from. I wanted to have something for today. Today? Yeah, she's thinking much, but Jasmine is on, so. And two? Yeah. Jasmine.
When I first found it, I don't know. Walls.
Yeah.
And I know this because she's just as honest as a person as I am, it's for those types of things. And I said, now I can tell him. So you get her advice.
What is it?
Her advice is so good. Like you put in, she said, they approved it, just because of. And they're like, what do you mean? She said, guy trainees. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, they don't, they don't. The point isn't that you guys don't not do it, the point is we haven't had a real in-service the way we usually do it in almost 2 years. Our in-service isn't always, it has to be a training.
Those are my students that use girls, especially you.
Especially,
I mean, they should shop at.
that's not good. Been part of the halfway to Zabala already finished her second part of waiting for college. Yeah, she was waiting for her check. I better get a letter by my birthday. You don't even get in your second check. No, she's still waiting for the first check.
Yes.
We'll see. I don't get a first check because. No, I did do it, but, the workshop was taking too long, so they didn't approve it until after January. So I submitted everything in October. I submitted everything on October 18th about school and the classes I finished, but they took forever to approve whether I was gonna do the school route or the hours. So she signed and approved after January 1st, so then they dispersed my check. So I'm gonna, I have my check coming probably like March-ish. And then I'm already gonna sit down and meet for spring right now. And tell her I graduated. So I'm getting 2,500 right now for the classes I already took. And then I'm gonna get the last 1,500 after you get my last two classes adjustments.
It's the part two twist.
Should we make it more chaotic? She goes, no. I was gonna give it go to a blind ball.
Oh,
So,
no, I wanna ask her how that goes. though.
is there a lot of?
No, that's their choosing, they're choosing.
I have an invitation for you to go. But I'm gonna buy some nice, not all this, I'm not gonna buy
Yeah, it's
nice.
not, I mean, it's fine,
Diego?
but
Yeah.
there's math in it.
I know.
you know,
I'm gonna
and
walk.
everything.
I walk every
Like, it
graduation.
seems like, boy, it's.
And I'm thinking about doing my doctorate.
As you get.
I was glad I switched. Just.
But,
you get-
So I'm gonna go buy some,
But I
if they
don't-
have any like announcement at Walmart or the dollar store.
You know, like,
And then
they
I'll just go
design just, you know, three-dimensional cone.
Put like a little message. Thank you so much
You-
for anybody who supported. Like babysitting my child. I wanna.
Okay.
One of our partnerships, we've been working with for a while, and that's what we try to do. I think
Uh-huh.
in 2016,
Oh, really?
I was really starting early navigate, which I never lost or anything. But it was so amazing to see how
I like this.
games of that, like, I was able to say, oh, that's where they learned this, and that's where, this is where they need it.
Mhm.
Like, just like the idea of quality, that is, you know, and
This class.
kids make something with
One of the
moms,
classes.
and then, or you make something and they say, oh, I'm gonna make that too. And you see how they pay attention to detail, or tell them, yeah, that's the same. Okay, they don't see it, or kids that are very particular, like, no, that's not the same because you use blue and I use yellow. Right, so the shape, it could be the same, but it's not the same color.
Okay.
So I was just so
It's what
interested
you call abstract art.
to know that in that way. So we would make different like activities for them. Especially spatial reasoning. Because I think that's really one of the fundamental concepts that they start learning, like it's connected to so much of it.
It was.
So yeah, but
Frozen.
I think we made like so like
And.
nets of like squares. or cubes, and that's the cube, and then they would fold.
Oh,
what's that?
always,
Like,
give you the right end. I always still try to sound
This
that.
flat. Then when they pull it, the strings. Like seeing that transformation. So I think those are ways we can start, because then kids are like, well, what does it look like? Oh, this looks like our house. And you can decorate it as a house and stuff, but that art can be part of that engagement to their imagination, but then they're also seeing the mathematics.
Yeah.
Like,
They just say I want to be.
Well, I think you can. I guess I kind of hear what you're saying. Some kids kind of seem to be a part of understanding the symmetry and the match. And then
I love it.
you just get so frustrated, I just want to crumble it.
yeah, they're, because we're different types of learners, and so. Like when I do origami with kids, I kind of get that back, and so I think this is just our practice. Cause I've done like third grade where we make a cube, just cube.
Yeah.
And, but then
Or
the amazement of them, like, this is a cube. The picture in your book, or the picture.
Yeah.
It's actually cute.
Made.
So they can.
It's a
We
Saturday.
talk about the vertices, like it touches what the vertice is, because I mean, teachers might have like one cube in the classroom, but for everyone to be holding one, and even if it's made out of paper, to be holding one and to know that they made it on sheets of paper, like that whole experience now hangs on like a lot of knowledge and content. But it's like an experience, like when they think of a cube, it's not the poster on the wall.
Yeah.
It's like an actual, like, when they're holding, we talk about bases and edges, vertices. So yeah, origami can be really. Just being an experience on something instead of a fact or a definition that you wrote 3 times, you know? It doesn't convey the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways of the narrative of math.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, it's at 3 p.m.
That could be quite a lot of fun. I think there's.
Maybe 4.
I started off as a engineer. Then I switched.
Especially when you're teaching.
But I think a lot of schools respect mathematics. It's like teachers. Yeah, you can get to so many kids are on, and then.
Yeah.
Maybe the teachers don't have.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes people say, oh, I have something harder. No. I went from that to something easier. The body kind of fixes itself. In engineering, it doesn't quite do that. I'd rather have it. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun too.
Yeah, you have to go back right here. This one. There's been problems with me, like.
Many gardens have
when
been-
it's So I'm wondering if the tumor is like,
Oh, yeah.
so they didn't do a CAT scan,
Yeah, I think.
because I didn't complain about my hair.
You know,
I was
symmetry.
complaining more about the pain in my
proportion,
stomach.
things like that.
But that same night,
Those kind of.
I was sitting in my car with her, because I went to go pick her up after I took my nap.
Even though we don't.
I
use it.
couldn't move
It does
anything
give us more
because,
vocabulary.
like, I
to
yawned.
Go to our gallery.
baby, and
Yeah.
then I felt like a pop.
These
And everything felt like
canvas.
the pain was excruciating,
Especially
like I
when
wanted to pop
the
it
artist
back
like
to wherever
lowers the
it came
ground.
from. Yeah.
And then there's so much
Because the pain
sky
was so
in those, you know, paintings or whatever. That's
Sound,
that's
that
what
was
we're
what I
trying
think
to
was
do,
more
and
annoying.
and I think
Everything was
like
muffled.
just knowing a
Or
little bit of
echoey.
the background
Muffled
is
and
that
echoey.
experience of that.
It was weird. I didn't like it. I thought I was dead.
Yeah, that's why I think.
That's what's
We
happening.
turned it So you learned something today. Instead of being that horizontal.
We're gonna come back together and start sharing You guys are a little more comfortable to share some of your pictures and your pages and talk about. I mean, you can talk about your, your scene, but then also what principles did you try to use? Some of them we kind of know, but I'm interested in just your new perspective, your new lens. So anyone want to go first?
It's always hard to go first.
Yes, okay.
Well, mine is about two friends, little blue and little yellow.
Mhm.
They're kind of scared, my background black, because they love each other so much that they hug, and one day they turn green. So they went back to their mom and dad, and they're like, you know, my child,
Mm.
because their family is blue and green. So then they came back together and they cry and cry and cry, and then they go back to their color.
Okay. So the ones with pieces is like them being sad about like.
Yeah, their tears coming out.
Okay, I see a book about mixing colors and the new colors you get. Yes, I like that. Very good, very original. And the roundness, so you use roundness
Yes.
for friendship and coming together.
Yes.
Anything else?
I did a simple one too. This time I
Okay.
tried to put mine. But yeah, it's I'm pretty sure you guys know this story. Yeah. So I did a circle too. I like circles. Actually, I like to cut out hearts. I don't like to cut circles. I don't like cutting at all. And I just discovered.
So if you hold that up, yeah. I see a story that's in the moon's perspective. The cow jumped over the moon, but the moon is kind of centralized, right? And happy, and you made the moon like a character, like it has some life to it. I like that.
Ours was the continuation of the storm.
So we had a storm
And then we went.
and we have some calmness, yeah. So the water now is nice and horizontal.
The sun is nice and hot.
Yeah, a lot of sky in the picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of the calming effect and the expanse of the heavens, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Scars. Anyone else?
I'll share mine.
Okay, someone.
So I did a depiction from a book I was reading with my children called Clayboy. And it's kind of showing that diagonal motion of like this cart with hay, kind of trying to get away from Playboy, who's got their mouth
Mhm.
wide and open to try to eat the cart with the person on it.
Okay.
Wow.
Sees the size differences and the direction.
The direction of movement.
Really, yeah.
I never heard of that story. Boy,
It's pretty interesting.
yeah, okay. Yes. What about you, Lydia? Oh, right here.
So I based mine off of a novel I read when I was working on my undergrad. So in the middle, I put a Nobel Peace Prize because it represents Malala Yousafzai winning the Nobel Peace Prize. The pink and blue is a square, or is a school, I mean. So she was attacked for fighting for girls to go to school. So the pink and blue represents boys and girls being allowed to go to school together. And then the top green represents Pakistan, which is where she was originally from. And then she managed to come to America to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, so you used color a lot. And your placement of what was important, like the work that she did and what she's known for in the middle. Yes.
I mean, I'm gonna switch over to share the Padlet, because there are a few things on there.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they're from in the room or virtual people, so I'll just kind of pop over there.
Okay.
You kind of see, so it looks like there's some Billy Goat's Gruff,
Yes, that was from here.
okay, and then.
Oh, yes, that was from the wolf story. Nice.
And this one was earlier.
Yes. That one. This one. Yes, this from in here, but I don't know the story.
Neither do I.
Anyone say It's great. Source, our ocean, our moon. Oh yeah, that one was from here. But too shy to say the story, but I love this one, centralized. A little monster. He looks mad too.
That's
Thank
this.
you. She wants me to share her picture.
Okay, we have another
She
sharing.
says she's eating, so.
Okay.
Excuses, but she tells me that this is her rocket ship getting ready to go up in space.
Yes.
And these are all the people lining up to get in the rocket ship.
Nice.
So they're lining up. That's her idea of them lining up.
Nice, I love it. And the rocket has like this diagonal going up into space. Shapes. Well done, thank you for
Anything else? What is
sharing.
that supposed to be? You don't know?
Control. Right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming, for engaging in our play shop. If you are a teacher and you need an attendance certificate for any hours, you can use this code and scan it with your phone so that we can get that to you.
Just like to. I'm like, I don't really need it. It's just- I'm not expecting it all in there. I'm the teacher.
Right.
I am.
And as you clean up, I just want to tell you about our next play shop for this semester is robots and early coding. And you can sign up. You don't need any experience. It's about kind of entry point for younger kids to get into robotics and coding. And I'll be doing that on April 20th. So sign up and please join us. Thank you.
And kids can come to that.
Yes. You'd invite kids to come with you. Yeah, we're gonna use.
They can come to all the play shops, right?
That- Yeah. You can invite families and. All right, thank you again. For help cleaning the tables.